Welcome back, everybody. A lot of things have changed since the last video. I'd like to explain them all, but first we'll start with Fritz. I emailed my brother, who typically names all of our tractors and equipment around the farm. He decided that this one is going to be named Fritz. I could not agree more. It seems like a Fritz. I don't know, not that it's on the Fritz, but it just seems like a nice little manly name. A lot of the time our names are feminine, but for some reason Fritz seems to fit with this 724. So that is what we are doing. Some other things have changed, including the weather. You will now notice that Saturday, Sunday, and Monday are all raining. So that is a nice feature. I'm not sure if the forecast was set in stone and actually happened, or if it was true to real life and things change in the weather. And that is exactly what happened. So that's a fun little feature to see. Unfortunately, that means we are extremely pressed for time. We have very little time left for planting in the spring here, and I'm not sure if we'll get done in time. So something else that changed, well, a lot of time passed, and you may be wondering why. It's because I was on the road, and I had a slightly different setup to record. I thought that I was good to go. Unfortunately, my audio somehow got messed up. I tested it before. I don't know at what point it got messed up, but basically all those videos are worthless. So things did fast forward a little bit, but the good news is not a lot happened with the actual farm. I did finish subsoiling these two fields, which are called 5 and 4, I believe, yes. And then those other fields on the east, 29, 28, and 30, I finished subsoiling. No, I brought the subsoiler over there. We did not finish subsoiling because we had lots more to do over here. We said that if there's time, we're going to subsoil. I'm not sure that there will be time, so we'll just have to take that as, you know, time progresses here. We'll look behind us, make sure we're not backing into that tree. That would ruin our day. Something else that changed is you may notice that we have a different seeder, a drill. That is because the excellent More Realistic mod makes things incredibly realistic. One of which being the... Let's look on the outside. If you notice, you can hear the vacuum sounds, right, from the... Oops, that is reverse. That could actually break planter in real life. That is not good. That's why you don't talk and drive. I think I say that a lot. Anyway, the vacuum feed drills, right, they are fed from a vacuum. That's the delivery system that gets it into, you know, down those tubes and into the ground, in the soil, in the correct increments, so that you don't overseed or underseed particular areas. I'm not sure about other crops. I know corn, you want one seed every 6 inches. With soybeans, the population's a little bit higher. I'm not sure how many seeds that equates to per, you know, distance, but it's roughly 140,000 seeds an acre. Corn, to put it in perspective, is around 30,000 an acre. But we will, let's flip to that side and hit forward. I'm leaving that little bit. I'm trying to leave a pass down there so that we can, there wasn't enough room to go all the way, so, well, you'll see what I'm doing later. Anyway, back on topic. The More Realistic mod, if it's not a vacuum drill, right, they have little feeder wheels underneath there that runs on a gear from a mechanical drive system that is driven somewhere from basically a wheel that spins on the ground to get your speed correct based on your ground speed. And based on that, it uses that information to mechanically, think of it, it's basically like a gearbox with some kind of gear reduction ratio. It uses, by changing gears, you can, like literal gears, on our planter we have to take off certain gears and put on bigger or smaller gears based on the seeding rate that we want. Anyway, it does all of that based on a mechanical drive system. Oops, I thought I lowered. I guess I actually raised. There we go. We will try that. Accidentally lowered my front weight. And let's make one more end row pass here. Anyway, with the mechanical drive system, the seeder is on, literally, whenever it is lowered on the ground, because that drive wheel is then engaged. to disengage the drive wheel, you raise the planter up. And so in real life, just like in the MR mod, which is the whole point, right? More realistic, that drill is technically on whenever it is lowered. This would not normally be a problem, but, whoops, front weight, there we go. This would not normally be a problem, but the manual attaching mod will not let you disconnect something unless it is lowered and it has to be turned off. So this presents a problem because, as you might understand after I explain all this now, the more realistic mod has the drill on when it's lowered. The manual attaching says that you cannot detach something if it is on. That's a problem. I love playing with both of them, so the way around that is I just bought a different seeder. That's, yeah. This one does not fertilize when it seeds. Unfortunately, we are not, you know, we'll lose a little bit of time there, but I think that's the best way around. Instead of, I have my eyes on the 6-meter seeder. That one was really tempting, but I decided that our farm could not support it yet, even though we desperately could use the extra time it would save right now. We'll just go around the corner here and plant the end rows this way. And sorry about the tree there. Still somewhat straight. We're good. I did report that problem on the forums to Durrell, and he responded that it is indeed a problem with the more realistic mod. There's not a lot he can do from his end because I mean, the code's there, and you can't just change that code because otherwise you would have to somehow turn the seeder off when you want to detach it. I don't know, that just would be messy. So I agree with him, and I'm going to try to report that to the guys who wrote the manual attaching mod. Maybe they can modify it on their end somehow. But in case that never gets resolved or takes some time to get resolved, I decided to just go ahead and we're going to use a different seeder. Most of the seeders in the game are vacuum driven, so it's not a terrible problem anyway. Did I say that I named the other tractor Jacqueline, Jackie for short? My brother actually wanted to name it Esmeralda, but it just didn't look like an Esmeralda to me. So we're going with Jacqueline. Something else that I did was I enabled the drive control mod, which allows me to use the shuttle again for driving, which I desperately need because you may have noticed that in the other videos I kept going backwards when I wanted to go forwards, and it was just a huge hassle. It's really, it wouldn't be that big of a deal except for those people who have an actual foot pedal. It's a pain in the butt to have to try to let up off the brake completely and then press it again to go in reverse. It's just not natural because the foot is used to gasping, go, brake, stopping, not brake, go backwards. Yeah, so that happened. What else did I change on the farm? What else did I change? I did do a little modding myself, and the TKD, whatever wagon we are using for the seeds, that overloader that we have from ModHub, I changed that to be a more realistic wagon, and that is because it was really hard to drive with the MR tractors. Durrell, if I'm saying that correctly, he explains it on his forum a lot better, so I would highly recommend checking out the FSUK forum if you want more information on that. But it has something to do with friction, and in the base game the tractors and vehicles stick to the road like glue. He changed that so that, I don't know if you saw me just slipping up the hill, even pulling this small little implement, or going around a turn like that. It feels like the tractor's actually in a real field with real dirt. I love it, and I will never be able to play without the more realistic mod again. Of course I said that for Farming Simulator 13. When they came out with 15, honestly, I think I installed and uninstalled 13 about 50 times because 15 just never felt real, and I mean, neither did 17, honestly. They came a long way with the physics, but the visuals were just... I probably should have straightened that up instead of trying to turn. That's what I get for talking and driving. The visuals were just way too good in 15 to not play with 15. I thought that I didn't care about the visuals and the only thing I would care about is gameplay. That just was not true. I could not stay with 13 after I knew how good 15 looked. And I guess we'll just do another curve. Really, I should have straightened that out. It's generally not good to try to turn your planter. You want to try to drive as straight as possible. And that's just because, well, with the little 3-meter planter, I cannot imagine it mattering that much. For corn, it would definitely matter, but for these other crops, I don't think it really matters as much. The theory is, well, the reason is because, I missed a little bit, we're just going to go back and get that real quick. The reason is because if you imagine, you know, 2 wheels, the seeds are going to drop at roughly the same rate, right? But when a vehicle goes around a turn, the outside wheels have to turn faster to keep up with the inside wheels. And the exact same thing happens with a planter, only most planters are not, I forget that term, they're not variable width seeding, no, not width, variable. Most planters are not able to adjust on the fly. We're gonna go catch these patches. Most planters are not able to adjust on the fly to changes like that, so you're gonna have tighter spacing. You know, for corn, for example, you want the spacing at exactly 6 inches. Every single seed needs to be exactly 6 inches apart. If it's not, you lose yield. So, with corn, it is really important that you drive as straight as possible, because if you don't and you go around a curve, those inside seeds are going to be spaced a little bit closer, and the outside seeds are going to be spaced a little bit further apart. That is for corn, though. Oops, sorry about that. I am not sure if it matters quite as much for these other plants. I don't think so. Drills, I mean, you're drilling them. The seed population is so high, I don't think it matters. But someone correct me on that if I am wrong. Well, I'm sure it always matters, technically, right? It doesn't matter quite as much. I'm just going to straighten this out here so we can worry about straight rows in the future. Actually, Fritz has GPS. I decided that in one of the previous episodes, that Fritz has GPS and Jacqueline is small enough that we did not put GPS on Jackie. So, good old Fritz here. He's got some GPS on him. We are trying to race the sun and that rain coming tomorrow. The only other thing you missed in Off the Air is taking care of another round of animals. So that's not that huge of a deal. It's basically the same thing I already did. I had a few more problems where I don't know if you... Oh, it's hard to stay on the line there. And I said we were going to use GPS and we're not. We should. GPS might have some problems. Sticking... Yeah. I tried to use Jacqueline on that other field, and Jacqueline just is not strong enough. This is a good little seeder. I think it's big enough for us. We don't have that many fields. As soon as we see that we cannot finish planting, though, we will need to go to a bigger seeder. My goal is to keep this as long as possible, and I don't think... It'd be great if I could turn around without having to back up each time. I'm not sure if I can do that. With the hill, it's just a little bit harder. Slip and slide just a little bit more. Oh, it is so nice to have my wheel again. As I said, I was on the road, so I brought my laptop. I had it all set up, I thought. But without a wheel, it's... I don't know. Those of you who play Farming Simulator with a wheel, you know the difference between mouse and keyboard and wheel. And it is just... It's so much more fun to actually be able to drive a tractor. this view is really nice. I've really grown to love this map. It is my favorite that I have played on. It's definitely my favorite among all the mod contest maps. It's quite possibly, well, it's not, it can't be an all-time favorite because it has some things I like and some things I don't like. It's nice and cozy. It forces me to use small equipment, and I don't know, the hills are just nice, even if I'm not sure if they're a little bit unrealistic in length, but I like it. It's nice and cozy. Traditionally, it's really out of my comfort zone. Traditionally, I like playing on maps that slipped a little bit too much around that turn. Traditionally, I like playing on maps that have a little bit of big and a little bit of small. This map is a lot more small. I don't even think, I know we definitely can't fit Big Bud anywhere. We might be able to fit some bigger equipment in a few of the fields, but a lot of the turning radiuses just aren't there, and even if they are, there's a lot of dirt paths as the only access point to fields, and those little dirt paths are way too rough. We definitely cannot fit a big combine through any of those smaller dirt paths. They're pretty rough, and there's lots of trees with overhanging branches. This is a good little cedar. Something else that I did is I bought a couple fields. And I know I just got done saying that I was pressed for time, we don't have enough time, and we're not going to make it. But I could not resist buying 2 more fields closer over to the ETA, which, you know, it's kind of funny because the ETA was originally going to be our, oh, sorry, I have the steering wheel turned, I'm trying to do this camera controls upside down. The ETA was originally going to be our midpoint, right, for everything. But let's pull up the map here. If you notice, ETA is point number 4, and while it is kind of in the middle of a lot of the big fields, we did not own one field over on that side of the map. They were all over on the east side. So while I put all the agriculture equipment over there thinking that would be a great idea, I just ended up having to take all the equipment back across the map to over here to the east side. So I bought a couple fields over there. I'd still like to use that as our kind of home base for the arable land. And I bought a couple fields over there, 23 and 25. 25 actually has a field texture on it, despite showing up green in the map there. So we'll be able to plant all of those. I think I've kind of given up on the hopes of subsoil and everything to try to get that 10% yield. It'd be nice, but planting the fields is a lot nicer. And when it comes down to planting a field or just having a field subsoiled and not able to plant it on time, well, I think we can all agree that 90% is better than 0. Let's talk about the rest of the plan. We want to finish planting this field wheat. Then for field, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's see if we can do a turn without backing up here. There we go. We did it. Alright, the plan is we're going to plant wheat in this field, and for a little bit of variation, but still something close to home, I think we'll do barley and 4. Then I'm thinking we'll do maybe 1 or 2 fields of canola over there, but I am really nervous about how much straw we're going to have, so I'd like to kind of stick with wheat and barley between all those fields on the east. And then 25 and 23 we'll do 25 and 23 with corn and soybeans. However, that's not enough corn and soybeans for the pigs for a year. We might be stuck with buying some pig food. I don't know how this is all going to work. That's probably a bad idea. I should probably do one of those fields on the east with corn, because I think we need a lot more corn than we do soybeans. So we should really do 2 total fields with corn and 1 with soybeans, I'm thinking. time? Yeah. I'm just having a hard time driving straight. These hills are crazy. Yeah, Jackie would not have made it in this field. This would have been a tough field for Jackie. The views are amazing on this map. I just love it. I keep saying it, it's cozy. Nice little fields. I think that covers basically all of the changes since... Oh, I take it back. I did make a huge change. The reason we were able to buy 2 fields is because I sold our semi. I know I said that I cannot live without semis. I love semis. I love trucks. I love, you know, big trucks like that. But I decided that, you know, try to... Wow, I am missing it. I decided to try to, you know, stick with the theme of the map. Oops. I took off a little bit too fast there. I decided to stick with the theme of the map, and that is, you know, smallness. Small little home farm. So I sold the semi. I bought dollies for the milk barrel and the animal trailers. I kept those big trailers. I didn't want to sell them since we do have a lot of animals. I did also think about, I don't know why I never thought about this before with how hard it was to take care of the animals, but we could sell some. So that is an option. Just finished up field 5, and I did realize that the time control was at 1x instead of the normal 5x, and I just wanted to say that that's not normal. I don't know how that happened. I think I already told you guys in previous videos that I do like to play at the 5x speed. That was actually pointed out to me by, I forget, one of the guys on the Seasons mod. I forget which one. He talked about how he likes to play at the 5x speed and set the seasons to 9 days each, which it seems to have been working out really nicely, actually. It has a nice amount of pressure, but the seasons are just long enough where they're not too long. So that's what I am doing. I just don't know how it got to 1x. In case you happen to see that and were wondering, that is what happened. Let's finish these end rows. Normally, I probably wouldn't do an end row like that, but that's close enough. Yeah, I don't really know how else to plant this field. This field's kind of tricky. It's not square. In general, you want to plant a field with as many long rows as possible. And this field, it looks like the longest rows are going west to east or east to west, I think. You know, maybe next year I think I'm going to do north to south. We're going to try that. Because this field, oh man, I was slipping there. That was not just me being a bad driver, just for the record. It was not being a bad driver. I guess I could still drive north to south this year and plant end rows. No, that's not too bad. The old girl handled that just fine. Oh, sorry, this is not the old girl. This is Fritz. The old girl is Jackie. She's not that old, though. Let's see. Now, do we want to do another? Yeah, we'll do another set of end rows up here. I think we'll do one more set, and that should be good for us. I think that is good for the diagonal rows. I think what I will do now is, if we can make this turn, which we can, we're going to go back and we'll try to straighten it up and just do another end row right along the edge of the field. Yeah, that's a good plan. I actually could have done this with the last end row, but we're down, yeah. But we decided to just go all the way around the corner. It's not bad, but it just kind of, at some point you're going to have to switch from diagonal rows to straight rows. You can't do diagonal like that across the whole field. Man, that is tough there. Yeah, I'm glad we're not doing it north to south, because then we would have to face that tough curve hauling up that, you know, we'd be sliding down the hill a lot like I was there to the right. Instead, we just go straight up over this hill, and we don't have to deal with slipping sideways as much. There's a little bit of slope down the hill to the left there, but it's not too bad. I don't feel, certainly it's not pulling as hard as it was back there playing the end rows. Almost done with these short rows here. These short rows are a pain in the butt, but there's no way around them on a map that is not square. Eventually, you are going to have some short rows. Drive for 5 seconds, turn around, and drive for 5 more seconds. Man, this cedar is just small. I always forget how small it is. I guess I should have kept GPS on. I thought I could do these without GPS, but that's why you have GPS. What good is a tool if you're not using it, right? And this field is done. I think we should be able to finish those 3 smaller fields with a full load of seed. So we'll fill up the seeder here. I brought home the, whatever that 302 overloader is. I'll switch to outside. We will turn off the seeder. And let's go over here to fill it up. I did dump some seed on the ground somewhere, trying to figure out how to work this thing. Dump it. I didn't mean to dump seed on the ground. I was trying to fill up the seeder, and I made a mistake. So we will try to not do that. So remove the cover there. Oh, we really need a power washer at the home farm. Let's manually unattach, and let's go get our overloader. Alright, and hook it up. This one does not have a PTO. So, whoops. Oh. I forgot that we had the fertilizer. That's right, because we were using dry fertilizer. Okay, so this is a funny story. I was using dry fertilizer for the Great Plains cedar, which I sold. I already told you why at the beginning of this episode. And I had the great idea, hey, instead of always having to go back to the shop to fill up with dry fertilizer, I'm going to buy a hay rack and fill it up with dry fertilizer. And then it turns out that we are not going to use dry fertilizer, at least not in the time being. We're just about there. Alright, let's tilt it back. And manual unloading off. Okay, so that was the confusing thing. When you see that... Whoa, why does that do it? Thought that changed something. Oh, I must have rolled forward slightly, maybe. I don't know, we'll figure that out. When you see the exclamation point, that is what you want. When you don't see the... Yeah, I see how it says... Maybe that wasn't it. Type unloading off. There we go. When it does not say the exclamation mark, that means you're good. So you turn it on, that'll fill up the seeder, and it'll stop, and that's good. If it does not say that, and it says the exclamation mark, that means that it will unload here. Manual unloading. That's what that is, as far as I can tell. So now we can put that back, and I do not think we will need this again, will we? We won't put this away just yet. That would be kind of dumb. We'll kind of park it over here out of the way enough that we can still get the tractor out of here. Tractor and seeder out of here. We will come back for you and put you away later. And backing up the tractor, we'll go grab the seeder again. And the subsoiler, I believe, is... I don't want to hit that. I think the subsoiler is still over there. So now we just have to come up with the decision. I'll take a wide turn here. Back into our seeder. We just have to decide if there is enough time to subsoil those fields or not. 10% would be great, but do we have time to get to 10%? Alright, let's get out of here. We'll talk about that on the way. Oops, wrong way. Double wrong way. First of all, let's look and see what time it is. It is 6:55, 18:55. We have rain the next 3 days, so we will assume that we cannot do anything in the field on those 3 days to be conservative. Nope, let's put on some hazards. To be conservative, we should assume that. So that means we have, if we're lucky, Tuesday to finish up. Let's just pray that it does not rain on Tuesday. Farmers do a lot of praying in real life. At least my dad does. So let's park this, right? Yeah, there's a subsoiler. Oh. Well, we can't plant this field anyway. We have to subsoil it. Let's get here. We will lower our seeder. Get out of the tractor. Disconnect. And before we subsoil, let's actually look at, that looks like, is that fertilized? That looks like fertilized ground. We will double check on the map though. And looking at soil composition, fertilization, yes, all the fields are fertilized except for 23 and 25. All right, I think we have the semblance of a plan, but you know how long those last on this farm. I think that sunset is a great way to leave us for the day. Did a lot today, and we'll fade to black from the sunset or something sappy like that. Give us a thumb and subscribe if you enjoyed, and stay tuned for more. I think I've finalized my schedule, and I should be producing a video every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So look for that. That'll be the schedule for the time being, and thanks again.